Hi, this is John from iMedia. You're here because you want to find some more information on how you can make your evacuation plan a little bit more effective. And this part is a case study that we did for a company and how we developed a solution that has helped a large global manufacturer um, address their evacuation plan requirements. And so I'll go through it with you. And I did a large article on this on LinkedIn, and this is just a condensed version of it. And so this is kind of intended for professionals that are health and safety and organizations, or for facility managers that want to get educated and find out what we did. And this is what this presentation is going to show. So let's begin. Many of you know having an evacuation plan and procedure in place is basically a large part of the occupational health and safety program, and many of you know it's also mandatory. But we also saw some research that it's like less than, I think, half of organizations are prepared for it. I think part of it is because it's just a huge undertaking. And some of the stats that we collected, 60% of Americans have not participated in disaster drill or preparedness exercise at work. Only 39% of respondents developed an emergency, develop emergency plan. So, and from another source, we have only 50% of employees consider their workplace ready for a severe emergency. And so it's concerning because there's that's a huge number, and it's more than just a fire drill, as many of you know. But the question is that this is going to address specifically about the evacuation plan and what you can do and how we could use some new technology to address that. And now here are some of the requirements that are listed here for what you need and the elements that you need for an evacuation plan. And you can find this on the Occupational Safety and Health Administration website. And part of this case study that I'm going to go through is show most of these issues is what this organization had. And at the moment of this recording, I'm not at liberty to say what that organization is. I just don't have a release as of yet. But I'll go through some of the information here, but they had a lot of these same objectives and concerns, shelter in place, the chain of command, a message for employees, employers, all that good stuff. And a lot of it you'll find is universal, and I'm sure many of you have those same concerns. So I think it'd be something to learn from this for all of us here. So a couple of years ago, we were implementing a visitor management system. So what that basically is, you see this little kiosk directory that you put in the front counter, and what it does is that it basically replaces the paper and pen with a little tablet. So if you're looking for John Smith, who's on the 3rd floor, and basically you enter his information, and it takes a picture of you and all that good stuff, and it lists it, and then it sends an email, an SMS message to that individual, and they basically automate their whole front reception. Since we have all the employees in there, it was important for the organization, obviously, like many facilities, you need to have who's in and who's out of the building, and their paper and pen method was not very effective for them, and so that's why they did that. But what drew the attention of the facility manager that was championing this project was the emergency notification. And I said, well, what is that button? I'm like, well, I explained it. Well, it just sends an emergency, tells everybody to evacuate. And then we had a discussion about what some of the issues were, and we basically explained some of those same challenges that we mentioned in the previous slide, and talked about how getting emergency message to everybody and specific emergency messages were quite difficult. And so we basically got very granular with them and got educated with their environmental health and safety team. And with their whole committee, we basically sat down and looked at what some of those deficiencies are, looked what we need to do to improve that, and how we could use this technology. And of course, we wanted to leverage the fact that we can able to send a text and email message to all the employees. And so with that ability, we want to develop it further and send specific messages to each individual employee in the organization. And also, one of the requirements in this evacuation plan that's listed is the ability to communicate in different channels or different personnel. And so it's also important for them as well that they wanted to do this. So if it's the ability to communicate, and this is just a picture showing how we customize this. Whether here it basically shows you, it titles what the emergency is, if it's a gas leak, and then you send a specific message with a description. And what we can do is also whether that emergency message is going to be for everybody or just for crisis leaders or department managers that we want to send the message out to. And so we can have that other channel of communication. And so that's what was really key for them and quite important. Another example of that would be, say, in first aid. They would want to maybe send out a message for first aid if someone's having, choking or heart attack happening, and they want to sound like they're first aid people. Then they also wanted first responders. So this is the different tracks or channels that they had, and there's 4 different channels that the system can do, and so that you can pick does this message go to everybody, or maybe if it's just something happening in the cafeteria. If it's a large organization, we don't necessarily want to disrupt everybody, and it's just the first key people that we need, which is first aid or first responders, and whoever's in charge of that can obviously send out that message, that immediate message to say we need those individuals there. Another requirement was it was easy, quick and easy. All emergencies need a panic button. And so, especially, with humans under a lot of pressure, when there is an emergency, we don't think very clearly. And so we need to be able to have something that's very easy and simple. And in the slide before, you saw the pre-configuration, and this is what it'll look like, in your handheld browser or, something like that similar if you bookmark it onto your computer. It'll look very simple. There's one button, and then it'll ask you for a PIN, just so that we don't, pocket dial an emergency by accident, and then you enter, and then that emergency gets launched. And that's kind of how they wanted it, and it was great working with them because they understood some of the essentials of what they needed, and so that's what we managed to help them to do. Another requirement that they had was, is being able to account for all the visitors that are in there, and also employees. And how do we do that? Well, you see in this picture here a visitor sign-in sheet. Great. But what do you do when this crisis has originated from the front lobby and it's not quite possible to grab your visitor sign-in book, and you can't do that? And what's great about this solution is that you can basically track who's on site, basically through our visitor management system. It logs everybody who's in the building, who's out of the building. Here, I blocked out some of their confidential information here, but the first individual, you could see what time they signed in, what time they signed out. The second individual still shows or signed in. So you could use this almost as a red flag and say, we need to account for this individual. They did not sign out. And so that you can then do your proper accounting. And you could do that right from any web browser, your mobile device, your laptop, and whatnot. So that kind of gives you an idea in a nutshell of what we did for this particular global client that was a manufacturer. One thing I did also forget to mention on those emergencies, those emergencies can be customized and tailored to your needs. Everybody has different sets of groups that they want to communicate, different emergencies, and the customization is fairly simple. We help our clients through that whole process as well. But it is pretty much straightforward. Lastly, we invite you to collaborate. we had the great privilege of working with our client to say what they wanted, rather than a bunch of developers thinking, oh, this is what I think, a health and safety professional needs, which, you don't know what you don't know, and a developer knows how to program and make great applications, but we don't understand the nuances of, what emergency preparedness really looks like. We were privileged to have that ability to really get granular with them. But we also think that there's things that we could learn from others and make it even better. And so that's how we really want to partner with the community. And so, we invite you to say, hey, looked at it, tried it out. This is great. We welcome feedback. We welcome ideas or other challenges you might have, and see how we can incorporate this. Because one thing we definitely found with this particular client had those challenges. We also talked to other organizations that had similar challenges. So a lot of them are universal. And so we really want to make it part of an app that's a much better solution, a much stronger solution. And that's basically it for today. So thanks for watching, and I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.